Hello, Jaime from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my Get Creeping on Halloween August 2023 make and my Craft Roulette Challenge number 178. It was a twofer. I actually had company visiting, so I really needed to get my Halloween card done, and so they had left the day before, and I was like, so I had a fifth parameter again. I needed to get my Halloween make done. I don't know what I'm going to get done this coming week, so it was kind of one of those, I should probably do this one and get it done. I did get to the store and get some of the new Lawn Fawn stuff because that release is super cute. So for the parameters on this Craft Roulette, if you haven't played Craft Roulette, go check it out, Craft Roulette Live, or I will link the channel below for the Craft Roulette Challenge channel. It's just a fun, they spin the wheel, you get 4 parameters, and you make a piece of art with it. So good luck, right? So this week was actually really hard to fit in to the Halloween, at least for me. It took me a few minutes to figure it out. I did get my whole card done while I was watching the live with Mary Fun Gun. Gun Fun? I think it's Gun Fun. I think she says Gun Fun. Mary Gun Fun from Craft Roulette. And so, I was worried I wasn't going to get it done because I was struggling for a few minutes there figuring out what to do. So the project this week was a ladies card, and the colors were candy colored, and the element was plant, and the random was tie-dye. That tie-dye one kind of threw me for a loop. Candy colors weren't so hard because, that one, candy and Halloween, kind of go hand in hand. Hence why I kind of debated doing the candy bowl or the candy in the cauldron, but I decided it is just the color scheme and not an actual element. So I pulled out my latest Ohuhu color blend swatches, which remind me of M&Ms, the classic ones. So I did add in my black for my cauldron and my witch. I probably could have done brown if I'd have thought about it for the chocolate M&M, but we'll go with black licorice, okay? And so the tie-dye aspect was a little bit harder for me, but I decided her dress could be tie-dyed, and I have a black skirt with a white tie-dye in it, and so that was kind of the inspiration for her tie-dye dress. And then I think I did a pastel peach or something like that for her skin tone. I was just kind of grabbing what was close at hand and not so much overthought. It's what I like to do with the Craft Roulette challenges. I try to challenge myself to use stuff that is near me, work as quickly as I can without overthinking it too much, and go from there. I still overthink it, but in less time. So for most of my colors, I did only do 2 blends. Of course, for my grays, I did a couple. I think I did up to 3 or 4. And my greens, I did bring in a 3rd one for the cauldron just because I wanted that lighter, brighter variation. And then for my M&M colors, so I couldn't do just a simple monochromatic with a pop of color kind of card. So I brought in the blues for my fluids in my jars. I figured blue and yellow made green. And then for my book pages, to keep my color scheme simple, I just used her skin tone with a tip to tip on the colorless blender. And then just coloring more of those, M&M colors onto my little witch. And finishing up the color, and then I will put these into my Brother Scan and Cut. So for the little bubbles on the cauldron, I draw a little pencil line from bubble to main image. This helps it recognize that it goes with that one because I just scan it in and then cut. I don't do anything on the computer. I've never done it with my Brother Scan and Cut, and that will allow that to keep the little bubbles connected to the cauldron. I could not find my moon mask when I was looking, so I ended up just cutting a circle from Avery L adhesive label removable sticker sheet label sheet, and use that as my moon mask. I'm bringing in Distress Oxides in Mustard Seed, Ripe Persimmon, and Candied Apple to give me that, I don't know, I guess it was moonset, but if you've been in anywhere in the northern United States, I guess, in Minnesota, it's been really bad, again, with the haze and the pollution from the wildfires in Canada. I can't imagine how bad it is in Canada because it's horrible in Minnesota. But we get a lot of this red, yellow sun in the morning, and or, you know, moon. Well, I guess it's more in the morning, so maybe this is a sun, not a moon, but I colored it as a moon. So that was the inspiration for my sky, was that haze, that hazy sun that we've been getting. And then before I peeled that moon mask off, I'm going to spray it with some Distress Mica spray stain. I think this one is Flickering Candle. And yes, I oopsed here. And so I tried to like suck up the little bit that was actually on my panel. I'm not so worried about the one that's on my mask there. But my panel is still super wet. Usually I let these things dry for a while before I mess with them, but since I was trying to stay within my, you know, time crunch, I did end up removing it right away. I did ink blend again on the Ohuhu marker paper. I'm not in love with it for marker coloring, but it makes really good blending paper, so I use it for that. So I will cut my panel down. I didn't cut it quite small enough here. I will come back in and cut it a little bit smaller. But for my moon or the sun, whichever one, I consider it a moon on this one. So for this one, I did end up coming back in. I took my black blending brush and just kind of blended a little bit onto it to kind of give it a little bit of gray. But of course I picked up some of that wet ink off to the side, so it kind of has a little bit of yellow to it as well, but it's a very faint yellowish gray onto that moon, so it gives it a little bit of character. And then I will glue my panel on top of this. Now I didn't lay out my images very well beforehand. I kind of did as I was stamping them to just kind of see how much I needed to stamp. I should have thought a little bit further and probably done another hill behind just to give me a little bit more real estate for my images to sit. Now I could have probably cut another one from, but it would have, I don't know, it just wasn't going to work. I decided to just abandon ship, go back to my original, and just work with it. So I kind of have my images where I want them. I am going to pop up the cauldron here just to set it off from my back panel a little bit. And then the rest of the images, for the most part, I think I left them all flat. So I'll add the witch in behind the cauldron, and then of course her book of spells. So what is she brewing up? Probably something naughty, you know, as witches do. So I was trying to decide, I needed to fill in something in the top space. That background is beautiful, but I wanted something else up there, something of interest. So I did have, the owl was already cut because I had left all of my die cuts, or my die pieces together. And so I did bring in my gray, I think it was my gray blending brush, and just kind of blended over the top of it to give it a little bit of a variation of color from that black piece, because it's a two-part die, so you get the wings on the owl are just a little bit darker than the body there. And then I decided it needed a little bit something for the eyes, so of course my camera died because, yeah, I was all out of battery. So I did just come in with a white gel pen and highlight those areas. The eyes I thought were a little bit too bright, so I did take my finger before it was all the way dry and kind of blot off some of the ink, so it kind of gives it more of a translucent gray than it does that gel pen white. And then of course I'm going to bring in some more plants or twigs of grass here I struggled with that second one. I don't know. I probably could have popped it up and put it in front of the cauldron. I don't know. I had ink on, or I had glue on it, so I decided I was going to use it. So I popped it up behind the cauldron there. And now comes for the sentiment part. I really, really wanted to use the It's Just a Bunch of Hocus Pocus, but it wasn't going to center well on my card. And so maybe if I'd have thought about it before I glued the owl down, I could have placed the owl differently. I really didn't want to bring in a sentiment strip to cover up that background. And it's a full moon outside, and all the weirdos are out. So that one ended up on the inside of my card because, you know, the tie-dyed witch dress and all. But so for the front of the card, I kept it fairly simple and just went with that trick or treat stamp. And of course I couldn't find my VersaFine Onyx black ink right away, but I did before I stamped it out, so I did use that one. I like to use the VersaFine Onyx black ink when it comes to stamping on top of Distress Oxides. I think it just sits better on top. And then I'm coming in with Lawn Fawn's Glitter Glaze pen here and adding some glitter to the top of my bubbles. And then I'm going to come in with some Glossy Accents and go over all of it with the Glossy Accents. It did dry back clear, and so you get the glitter on the top and the gloss on the rest. And so I took my pictures before it was all dry. I'm impatient like that. But it did turn out, it doesn't have that film. It's actually clear, see-through, and glossy. So there is my finished creation for both Get Creeping on Halloween and Craft Roulette. I hope you enjoyed and have an amazing day. Keep getting inky. Bye!